So many more years to go.
Is he your best young fighter? Is he your best 24-year-old?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, he's the youngest ever two-division world champion. Must be the youngest ever Ring Magazine champion. The youngest ever on the pound for pound. I don't know, maybe. I hope so. It depends if they want to make the fights, if they want to see the best be the best. Sometimes people want to do that, some people want to avoid fights, but we know there's a big market for the smaller weight classes in Japan, but there's also a big market here in Phoenix, and like I said, maybe even in Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, look, we did 9,000 tonight or close to. Next time, who says we can't do 10, 11? We may do the rematch. We'll have to see. But yeah, for sure.
Ben,
I saw some stuff tonight. I can't believe what I'm saying. From Rome. I mean, what the fuck's he doing? Honestly, something bad is going to happen if someone don't get hold of Ryan Garcia. I keep saying it, and you may play these clips back when something bad happens. Like, it's just a car crash.
He fired against, I don't know if that's the quote, but he fired against but then said, the situation will happen to Caleb Plant, and he said since he's going to be suspended for a year, he's going to be, quote, petty about this whole situation. What do you think is going to happen?
I just say he just needs help. He needs help real bad. I hope he can get it.
That rematch, I know that rematch, that's something that they both want. Hearn and Ryan, let's try to fast forward everybody hypothetically to a year later. Could that be the first match for both of them coming back after a year?
What can you tell us about this, the fight league that's going on in Saudi Arabia?
Nothing really. I mean, there's really just exploratory conversations. His Excellency has an incredible vision for boxing. He's got a lot of ideas. The stuff that was reported, half was correct, half was incorrect. We're bound by confidentiality on a lot of these things. But there's a lot of exciting things being discussed. And if there's a way to bring boxing together, you've seen him do that quite effectively so far. I think it's something that a lot of people would be interested in.
The team concept with 5 versus 5 was pretty
massive.
Cool.
The numbers were huge, and the narrative was huge. I mean, don't forget, you've got Matchroom and Queensbury, with obviously about it, right? But in the UK, it's we're I don't know, New York and Boston, or I don't know, whatever you want to, So, and it's it was pretty fierce. So it was a huge media story, and although we didn't do very well in the tournament, the show did very, very well on the numbers, and I think it's a concept that can work.
But when you brought the the Chavez Jr. and Daniel Jacobs fight, you're kind of by not choice you had it.
Yeah.
Could you envision what we saw tonight?
No, I mean, just the best atmosphere. Knowledgeable fight fans. I mean, even when we started the prelim fights, it was really busy. And I think I don't think we've got credit either for providing free air conditioning as well, like I said to fans tonight. I mean, it was a really nice touch from Matchroom.
We'll take it on the back after.
Yeah. But I think when there were so many people in here earlier, I was like, they're watching the boxing and they're getting a nice cool arena. So I think that there's not a fight that you could bring here that wouldn't do well. As long as it's a good fight and as long as it's a good card, they understand it, they get it, and we will always be in Phoenix at least 2 times a year, hopefully 3 times a year. And when you look at BAM, you'd think that BAM back in San Antonio would make sense, but it's difficult to take him away from Phoenix.
I was going to ask you, he's a star now. He can draw anywhere. The rematch, we'd love to have it back in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Is that on the table?
Yeah, it just, can you do 10,000 plus in San Antonio?
If you can do it in Arizona, you can do it at home.
Well, do you want to make sure, can you guarantee me to go?
If you bring it to San Antonio, I'll guarantee.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah,
right.
But that is honestly, that's the reality of it. I know I can do 10,000 here, probably 12,000 for the rematch. Can you do that in San Antonio? And I'd like to say yes, but it's a little bit unproven. So, but we have to go back there at some point with BAM, because it just wouldn't be weird not to. So we'll have to see.
Eddie, I know part of the storyline of this fight
was circle of people spawning back.
I know Mr. Honda isn't big on his fighters facing each other, but I mean, it's an excellent
to be honest with you, if it wasn't down to Mr. Honda, I would have made that fight already. You know, but I respect Mr. Honda. You know, he cares for his fighters, and I care for him as well. But I want to see him make a lot of money, and sometimes the right dance partner helps you do that. And as big as the unification is, it's not probably as big as the Chocolatito fight, you know. But that's just stuff we have to, speak to Bam and Robert about and map out his career. You know, your question about maximising his money. You know, he's making a lot of money, but now he moves into that top 5 pound for pound list, or we're close to. You know, he deserves more and more and more. And you know, I think he's an outstanding fighter.
Eddie, I don't know if you saw, but Virgil Ortiz was he was sitting down watching the fight here live. Obviously, you have Brits Ennis. That was a big fight that they wanted at 147. Obviously, Virgil's now at 154. Did you has there anything that talks about when you talk to Jerron Ennis maybe in the future?
No, Jerron would love that fight. I mean, I want to see Jerron. You know, obviously, he fights in 2 weeks. I want to see him unify the division, try and clean up at 147, then move to 54. And if Terence Crawford gets through Madrimov, which I don't think he does, then Boots Ennis will clean out Terence Crawford. Because I think they're underestimating him. I think he's a very, very good fighter. He's extremely tough. He hits very, very hard. You know, and it's all like, you know, Canelo after this. Like, don't get me wrong, Crawford's the favourite in the fight. But Madrimov is a very, very tough fighter. He's got great movement. He's a fit, strong guy in his prime. As I said, punches very hard, and that's not an easy fight.
So you can rely on that as well, that if possibly, if he does beat Madrimov, do you think he still goes up and try to face Canelo, won't give him maybe a chance, Canelo versus Crawford, because I know he's very active and spoken about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's down to his excellency. I think the only person that can make that fight is his excellency, because of what Canelo wants for that fight. So you're going to have to pay up for it, and the only way that's going to pay the money that Sal wants for that fight is in Saudi Arabia.
Eddie, the circle of life in boxing is kind of like the young guy beats the legend, and in the process kind of like, picks up his fans along the way. Is that kind of like your goal for tonight?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the goal, but I think that you're right. I think that happens. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of mixed feelings tonight, because I think the Mexicans do also like Jesse. They love the way he fights. He fights like a Mexican. He's beaten Quadras, he's beaten Estrada, and they know and respect the smaller weight classes. So, yeah, I think that would be the case.
What do you think of the scenario where it looks like maybe Conor McGregor is going to be on that UFC card at the Sphere around September 14th, and yet that's always been his day. Do you think Canelo would move off that date?
It depends where he fights. You know, who knows if His Excellency does a deal with Canelo for Crawford, and I don't know, maybe another fight I think's been talked about, or if PBC do a fight. I mean, I think he'll fight Berlanga next. I do. I think when you look at the options, he's going to have a fight before he fights Crawford or before he fights someone else. So who else is there to fight? Well, you've got two mandatories. One is William Skull, who I've never heard before in my life, with all due respect to him. I'm sure he's a good fighter. And the other one is Edgar Berlanga, who's a Puerto Rican knockout artist who's fought on ESPN, fought on DAZN, everybody knows him. And it's a competitive fight. So I think he'll fight Berlanga next.
A fight in New York, right? Doesn't that fight make more
I think
sense?
Vegas, New York, wherever, But, if there's the Sphere fight, then maybe they want to do it in New York. I'm not sure.
Well, Canelo hasn't fought in New York at least recently. Do you want to put
him
him
against Rocky Fielding?
Oh, you're right. A few years back.
I like it, but Canelo is a bit of a creature of habit as well. He likes his Vegas fights, but also he likes fighting in Texas. But up New York, it's like different.
I wanted to ask you, Raymond Ford.
Yes.
The ball fight was so good. I think it's the fight of the year.
I thought he won the fight, but it was a very close fight. He probably stayed at 126 one fight too long.
That was my question.
But it was a big payday. It was a big opportunity in a 5v5. He's moving to 130, and I would like him to fight Lamont Roach for the World Championship in October, November on the East Coast.
And does Matchroom have any plans for Mexican Independence Day? Weekend?
Tequila? I don't know, maybe, yeah. I'm not sure. Traditionally, obviously, Canelo fights that weekend. And now there's the UFC event that weekend as well. So sometimes it's a bit of a logjam, but we're doing a lot in Mexico, and we'll be back there on August the 31st.
Eddie, in a perfect world, who does Bam fight next? It's like for you.
Inoue. yeah. No, I think the Estrada rematch does big business. I mean, he'd be a big favourite going into that fight, but it was competitive, and he dropped him. And I think it was just the most crushing of body shots. Like, I would have actually liked to have seen it gone on more. I don't know, like, it was. Estrada's a very, very good finisher in the back half of the fight, but the body shot was so well placed, But I think Estrada rematch, unification, Chocolatito, Inoue. I think at some point he's going to move to 118, but I'd like to see him unify first at 115.
Is the Chocolatito fight real? Because
For me,
Honda always says,
but probably not. But I would say to Mr. Honda, look, if you look at the big fights out there for Chocolatito, who are they? I mean,
There's only one
you
left.
could do the Estrada 4, but he's banned, really. So you get to a stage where you say to Mr. Honda, if you don't allow the fight, you're actually taking a payday away from him. So unless you can come up with another option,
but nothing as big as Bam.
What's next for Ramla Ali?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I thought the scorecards were terrible for the Ramla Ali fight. I don't see how it can be anything else other than 96-94 either way. I mean, every round's close in the 2-minute rounds. This is one of the problems. But 98-92 twice. I mean, ridiculous. So maybe there'll be a rematch, but I'd like to see her get another shot.
Do you still think that you could get a shot to do the Canelo next fight?
I mean, it's really down to the zone. They had the broadcast last time. Didn't promote the fight, or we didn't promote the fight. They didn't have to put the guarantee up, but they got the broadcast and they did extremely well. Yeah. So they're quite happy doing that, to be honest with you. So yeah, I know. So business is good for DAZN. They're doing amazing at the moment. Their numbers are through the roof. So we're in a really good position with a platform. So you don't want to be over guaranteed. It's my opinion, not their opinion. You don't want to be over guaranteeing fighters for fights and doing millions of dollars in the process on the guarantee, because we've seen people do that before, and they left the business quite quickly.
Do you want to see Bam fight again in 2024?
Sorry?
Do you want to see Bam fight one more time in 2024?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, he's fresh. I know it's a tough fight, but he's pretty fresh. So, all right, guys. Thanks.
You,
Thank you. See you soon.